It's time to either stop overscheduling, underscheduling, or everything that there is in between when it comes to setting your staff schedules in your childcare program. I am going to be giving you 5 tips that I use in my own childcare program when considering and scheduling staff, how to stay on budget, all of those great good things in between as an owner. And I'm also going to give you at the end of this video some resources and software management systems that I use and teach all of my students and all of my clients. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dominique, the proud creator of Educated Minds, where I love to get on here and sprinkle good rates, good energy to all of my current childcare providers, all of my aspiring childcare providers, and I am here to teach you how to start, grow, and scale your childcare program for success with systems. Okay, so one of the first things you want to think about when you're thinking about scheduling is going to be think about your scheduling needs ahead of time. So when you're scheduling for your childcare employees, and this is not just teachers, this is your bus driver, your support staff, your kitchen staff. If you have a larger base program, you really want to look at that planning ahead of time. So some things to consider would be planning for your teaching staff would be, when does the first child come in? How frequently do children come in? When does the youngest child come in? Because that could change the classroom if you guys are all coming in one group, right? The next thing you may want to consider is going to be your hours of operation. So if you say that you are open at 6 a.m., does that mean that an infant or does that mean that a school ager can come in at that time? So you really want to think about and look at your patterns. That's one of the best things I say is look at your patterns of arrival. Look at your patterns of departure, because that's really going to help you determine, okay, I need to have Miss Susie in here at 6:30 because we open at 7, okay? All right, tip 2. So my second tip for you guys when you're thinking about your staff scheduling is going to be evaluate your staffing levels and availability, right? So this was something that I know I struggle with because when I was interviewing people, I allowed people to tell me, well, I want to take this shift and I want to be an opener, but I can't get there until 7:30. Well, that ain't gonna work, right? So you really want to look at what your staffing levels are, what your availability is, and you want to be organized and prepared. So when you are doing interviews and you are bringing new staff on, you're clear and concise about what their schedule is. Even though it may go a half an hour over or half an hour under, give or take for flexibility, but you want to make sure that you're communicating that in a clear manner. You also want to make sure and look at your staffing needs and your budget, because the budget is what matters. You want to look at your budget. Do you need all these full-time people, or maybe you need 2 full-times and 1 part-time, right? One of the biggest things that I've learned overall would be that I never put all my eggs in one basket. So yes, I may need a lead teacher and she may be a full-time position. If I find one, that's great, but I always hire 2. Why? Because Miss Susie may not be there 60, 70, 90, 120 days from now. You always want to make sure that you're always hiring. But one of the other things that I really have learned is that you have to make sure that you know what the needs are for your families. So therefore you can hire accurately, you can promote correctly, and more important, you can tell teachers what their schedules is going to be. Okay. Another thing that you want to consider when you're looking at is going to be break time, because this is important. So are you giving 30-minute breaks, hour breaks, 45-minute breaks? Are you doing, I know some people and a lot of my clients and some of my students, they may do an hour break, but the 15 minutes is more of a grace period. So they'll get a 45-minute direct break off the floor, but then they will get that 15 minutes to like go out the classroom or take a quick break or get water or just, get out that classroom to give a break. So you want to consider what's going to be your breaks. And when you also consider what's going to be your breaks, you want to consider, is these breaks going to be paid or not paid, right? My third tip that I'm going to give you in the scheduling staff is the most important one is to follow your local rules and regulations, guys. So one of the most important things as a high quality based childcare program is always being a ratio. How many times have you looked up and like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I'm not a ratio. I got kids coming in. I got 5 kids coming in. And they say that after this number, I need to have 2 or 3 staff, right? So you really want to make sure that you look at that and follow your guidelines when you're doing your scheduling for ratio purposes, right? So here's an example. At one of my location sites, we open up at 8. for our free pre-K program, and at one of our other sites for our free pre-K program, we open up at 8:30. At one site, the 8:30 line is down the block. Okay. However, at my other location site, at that 8 o'clock to about 8:30, we got about 4 kids. It's not a bum rush. So I know that when I'm scheduling staff, I may bring in a full-time person and a part-time person. I may not bring in 2 full-time people, but it really depends on the needs of your children, and it really depends on your rules and regulations for your state. Okay. So that's something I always say put as a priority, because you never want to be caught out of ratio. That's like what they call it, a red flag, right? So you never want to be caught out of ratio, because as you are developing and building that relationship with any of your state and federal agencies, you want to make sure that you are the program that's known for, like, no, they're always in ratio, their scheduling is not wrong, and more importantly, you may have extra staff. Okay, so make sure, rule number 3, that you follow your local rules and regulations. All right, my 4th tip, guys, is going to be publish your schedules early. Okay, so even though we know that in childcare it's forever evolving, schedules and situations are constantly changing, it's ideal to publish your schedule in advance so everyone knows where they are, where they belong, what their time is. They may not know when their break is, because I understand that that's flexible, but it's important that you notify them. And ways that you can communicate and publish this, I'm going to make sure that I tag these links in this video in the description, or put them somewhere on the screen. But it's going to be, you can always use square.com. You can always use When I Work. That's a great platform that I use for our staff. You can always use any of your payroll companies. So many of your payroll companies will have that tied in, or an extra add-on feature to your current payroll package. But you should not be still in the space of just writing it down on paper. Only maybe if you just opened up like a month or 2 ago, and I understand that you're trying to get some of those nuggets back. But as you grow your program, it's super professional to make sure that you have some level of clock in and clock out system. Square.com, When I Work, ADP, or any of your payroll systems typically add that on as an add-on feature. I'm sure that there's many free ones out there, but these are just some of the ones that I personally know. Okay, but when you think about publishing your schedule early, it allows staff to, like, either do their days off, it allows you to take their sick times or their PTO that's already scheduled off into consideration. You also want to look at your calendar as the owner. I can't tell you how many times I looked at my calendar like, oh wait, I got a staff meeting. Oh wait, I have a downtown meeting. Oh wait, I have a business meeting. I need this person to stay late. As the owner, as the leader of your program, the more organized that you are, the better results that you're going to get for staffing. So making sure that you're doing your scheduling earlier is going to be super beneficial for all of your workforce. Tip number 5, guys, is going to be prepared for some changes. Okay, so you guys know, how many times can you not say that you scheduled this person in, or unannounced meeting, or somebody had to go home sick? So you always want to make sure that you're flexible as that owner, as that leader. Some basic things I would tell you guys is to always schedule extra staff, whether it's on a Monday or a Friday. I know I do. Even many times if I'm out of town, or I'm on vacation, or I have business meetings, I always have that other person stay an hour later, or bring in that other extra part-time person, just because things happen. Our staff, their children get sick, cars break down, anything can happen, and you want to make sure that your schedule is not affected by someone else's schedule. So scheduling in those extra support team, those floaters for naps, those floaters for lunch, all of that great good stuff is super, super helpful. So when you're thinking about scheduling, you want to make sure that you are prepared for changes, because as the owner, as the leader, as a leader of your program, it's super important to make sure that you appear that you know what's going on. Not that you're asking Susie to stay 2 hours behind because you forgot that you had a meeting downtown and you're not going to be back in time. Okay, so make sure that you schedule those extra staffing. Make sure that when you're hiring, that you don't put all of your hiring needs into one basket. And more importantly, my last tool that I would tell you guys is make sure that you're organized. So therefore, when people come into your business, you know who's what and where and breaks and all of that great good stuff. And more importantly, if you use that actual software management system that I mentioned in this video previously, and that I'm going to add down in the description, one of the things that it will give you the budgeted forecast, right? So what's a budget forecast? A budget forecast is if you go into any one of those software systems, or you can always do it manually, you're going to be able to count up how many hours. So if you have someone that's part-time, you know that they're not going to go over that 20 to 29 hours. They're not going to go over 20 to 25, whatever's listed in your employee handbook. Same thing when it goes to doing those breaks, right? So you really, really want to make sure that you are looking at part-time, full-time, being organized, getting it all. If you love this video and you love this content, be sure to give it a thumbs up, leave me some comments, and let me know what are you thinking, or what are some things that you do to schedule your staff in your everlasting, evolving childcare program, okay? And be sure to hit that subscribe button if you want more content like